So the 2021 NBA draft was kind of a long time ago. Something I always wanted to talk about was the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Josh Giddey. This was due to the fact that a lot of people thought this was a bad selection and things like that. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't crazy about the move when it first happened, and it kind of led me to make this video where I'll be answering the question of whether or not the Oklahoma City Thunder were right to select Josh Giddey with the 6th overall pick. Before we get to the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content, and if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. Before we discuss whether or not I think selecting Giddey with the 6th overall pick was a smart or dumb move, I believe we have to discuss the type of player Josh Giddey is in the first place. Josh is a 6'8" point guard. He's really naturally talented as a point guard. He just has a great feel for the game, and he has a tremendously high IQ. He's the kind of player who makes his teammates better and the kind of guy who can do a little bit of everything. Apparently, he's a guy who could be a triple-double threat. He's one of the better passers in the draft due to his great court vision. He barely misses open teammates when they're open. He can easily see over the defense due to him being 6'8". He's also great at running the pick and roll due to his feel for the game. He's great at hitting the big men as well as open shooters. He can attack the basket and finish plays at the rim at a decent level with either hand. Giddey also has a solid floater game that he sometimes goes to. He has shown promise to be a spot-up shooter, but that's definitely not a strong suit. He's also a very smart defender who takes advantage of his length against other guards, and he's adept at stealing the ball through passing lanes. To voice some of his weaknesses is the fact that he's not like a great defender because he's not really quick, doesn't have that high of a vertical jump. He's a pretty skinny player. He's not really strong at all. He might struggle to create his own shot at the next level due to the fact that his handles aren't elite enough to where he could create space consistently. And when you add in that he's not athletic, it really is not an advantage at all. He's also a really inconsistent shooter. Even though most of his threes come from spot-ups, he's not even a good free throw shooter for his position, which makes me question how good of a shooter he can be in his career. He doesn't really have a pull-up game, and at times he can get really passive to the point where he won't even shoot the ball. And on defense, he's not good at guarding fast players at all. So now that we know what Josh Giddey's weaknesses and strengths are as a player, I'll get into the argument. The reason the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Josh Giddey with the 6th overall pick does make sense is due to the fact that he's a player who has a lot of potential. He's literally a 6'8" point guard with great passing ability and a decent handle. To be honest, I don't think he's a guy who's going to be a superstar, but I definitely think he has all-star potential because he's always going to have an advantage. In recent NBA history, we've seen taller point guards that have been really successful in the NBA. For example, Luka Doncic, Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, Ben Simmons, and some others. So right now, being a top point guard is definitely the trend, and selecting Giddey is definitely following that trend. I think there's a good chance it could be successful. He's also a player who could fit well alongside their star guard in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who will now be playing the shooting guard position, and I think Giddey can get Shai a lot of easy shots. Giddey is not a ball-dominant player, so he's not going to force the ball out of his hands. The Thunder also don't have a point guard who's good enough to where you pass up on a point guard in the draft that you really want to take, because although Theo Maledon has shown a lot of potential, he's not good enough to where you skip on prospects, if you know what I mean. So I think Giddey can come straight out the gate and help this team lose games, and I think he probably is going to start straight out the gate. In my opinion, Giddey's a guy who looks like he could be a project type of player, and the upside about OKC is the fact that they're not going to be looking to win games anytime soon, meaning Josh will be able to develop and go through his mistakes and things like that without too much pressure. And I feel like if Giddey wants to go anywhere and develop at his absolute best, honestly, I think OKC is probably one of the best spots to go because they're a very young team and he's going to have time to develop. He's also a project, which could be viewed as a negative or it could be viewed as a positive. Guess we'll just have to see. Now to get to the part about why selecting Josh Giddey with the 6th overall pick doesn't make any sense. The main argument is simply because there were better prospects available, because Josh was supposed to go around somewhere like the 8th to even latest the 13th pick. So him going 6th overall was definitely surprising. And in my opinion, I thought the Thunder would have selected Jonathan Kuminga or James Buchanite instead of Josh Giddey. And a lot of people would argue that they didn't choose the prospect with the highest potential that was available, and they didn't choose the prospect that would be coming to the NBA not struggling as much, because I honestly believe Giddey will have a slow time starting and coming to the NBA. If he turns into a star, it won't matter much, but if he turns into a bust, it's going to be pretty wasteful if he was getting all that playing time and he just turns out to be a bust. Also, you could argue the Thunder have had the opportunity to trade down in the draft and try and get Giddey later if they really wanted him. Maybe they could have got some extra assets, and maybe they could have got like a few second round picks or maybe even a 1st overall pick. I think if maybe they got like the 9th or 11th pick, then selected Giddey with that pick, I think they could have got it, because no one expected him to go as early as the 6th pick. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe his stock was going up, but nonetheless, I think that was at least a possibility. Another argument you can make for why they shouldn't have selected him is the fact that a lot of scouts seem to view Giddey as a prospect with a high bust potential due to the fact that he doesn't really excel crazily at one thing. His best attribute is probably his passing. He's not like a generational passer or anything like that, just a pretty good one. And when it comes to his ball handling, a lot of people have critiqued his ball handling, saying it's really loose and he loses the ball a lot. When it comes to shooting, they say he has good form, but he's really inconsistent and can't create his own shot at a great level. When it comes to finishing at the rim, they say he's not that athletic. So a lot of times he just struggles to finish. And he's not crazy athletic when it comes to his speed or his vertical jump. I'm not saying he's bad at those things, even though it kind of it sounded like I was like roasting him, saying he's bad at that stuff. I'm just saying he's not amazing at one thing, but he's pretty decent at a bunch of things. And that type of player can either be a bust or a solid all-around player. I guess we're just gonna have to see. But one thing I do know for sure is Giddey's not gonna come straight out the gate absolutely dominating or anything like that. He's gonna struggle in his rookie season. To answer the question of whether or not the Oklahoma City Thunder should have selected Josh Giddey with the 6th overall pick, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard that he got selected 6th overall, I thought it was a really stupid move and I thought the Thunder were idiots. But now that I look back on the move, I'm not as down on it as I was before. I think Giddey has good potential as a prospect, and I think he's a really good fit with the Thunder. But even though I don't think it was a terrible selection, I do think the guy I would have selected if I was the Thunder was Jonathan Kuminga. He seems like a prospect who's kind of like Ja, because he's like a prospect, but he just has way greater attributes. Because although he's not as good as a passer, he's nearly better than him at literally every other thing. He's a significantly better finisher at the rim due to his athleticism. He has way more moves when it comes to finishing the rim as well. He's way more athletic, has a way faster first step, has a crazy high vertical. He has a jump shot that has shown glimpses of improvement. I'd say they're around on the same level when it comes to their shooting ability. He also has shown the ability to actually create his own shot against G League people who aren't NBA level, of course, but they're still decently close. He's also a really good defender, whereas Giddey is just a solid one. And with Kuminga, you could just see a lot of things in his game that look like they could get unlocked and become elite. I could see Kuminga becoming an elite finisher, becoming a good 3-point shooter. I don't know about Giddey, to be honest. And I feel like Kuminga's a little more of a finished product, and they're around the same age. And I feel like Kuminga has the lower floor or the higher floor, and he has around the same ceiling. But nonetheless, I'm not too angry about that OKC for this pick. I probably would have selected Josh over James Buchanite or Davion Mitchell just because of his age, and over Franz Wagner and everyone else. I just would have chose Jonathan Kuminga. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Thunder should have selected Josh Giddey 6th overall. Drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want NBA content like this. Also, tell me if my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all my comments, and I'm out.